So let's take a look at some common social engineering scenarios. The first type of scenario is known as the help me scenario. In this scenario, the attacker pretends that they're a new employee or someone who maybe works for a third party, like a vendor coming into your organization or a temp agency. The attacker will state that they forgot their password, but they really need to access a file because it's a dire emergency. Sometimes they may ask you for your credentials just to log on just to get the file, and they promise they'll log off right afterwards. In many cases, they may even tell you it'll be okay, you can just go out and change your password after they get access to their file. Quite often what they're doing is instilling malware onto your systems, rather than actually gaining access to a file. Or if they do access a file, they'll be downloading it or making a copy of it of sensitive information that they should not have access to. That's how the help me scenario works. So why does it work? Generally, we want to be helpful. People want to help someone who appears upset. In many cases, crying or being visibly upset will elicit a physical reaction from the target. They'll want to help. In a situation where there's a sense of urgency, where they need that file in the next 5 minutes for a critical meeting for the company, many people won't actually take the time to stop and think about what they're doing. They'll just try to be helpful. How can we stop social engineering like this? Well, the first thing we can do is direct all login issues or requests for any information to the IT department. That should circumvent the social engineering. If they can't get it from you, they certainly aren't going to call the IT department. Never ever share your credentials with anyone. Another common scenario is the authority figure scenario. In this one, this is where the attacker is really going to try to act in a way that creates stress, so that you, the victim, will not react well under that stressful situation. The attacker often poses as someone with a certain degree of authority. Maybe they're the head of IT, or they're pretending to be a supervisor from another department, a board member, sometimes even the C-levels within your organization. And they demand that the user assist them. They claim they have an important meeting in 5 minutes, it's worth $1 million, but they have to have access to these files or this data. They also say it's an emergency. The attacker may claim that there's an emergency, and they authorize the user to give them their credentials. They will often state, "I'll give you permission to give me your credentials," or "I'll take responsibility." And always there's a sense of urgency. The attacker may state that there's an immediate threat to the network, or they're in a meeting and they need immediate access to a file for a presentation. That sense of urgency creates stress and is often what causes the victim to not think clearly about what they're doing. So why it works, again, is because people are intimidated by figures of authority. They don't want to stand up to their supervisors or run the risk of getting in trouble. And that sense of urgency or immediate threat often overrides their logical brain. They start to react before they really think about what's going on. So how can we stop this type of social engineering? The first way to stop it is to be familiar with this type of attack, and always take a moment to stop and think about a situation whenever you're presented with a scenario very similar to this one. Quite often, the supervisors in your company, the C-levels, the board of directors, they would really prefer that you protected your organization and followed your policies, rather than comply and give them access to something that's outside your normal procedures. Direct any request for assistance to the IT department or your immediate supervisor.